Hello and welcome to the Irongeek Cast, number something. It's a high number. It's over 200.
Oh, isn't it viewable from here someplace? Oh, 205 up in the top left-hand corner.
We've been doing this shit forever. All right. So today I call the cast garbage people for my own reasons and has nothing to do with the actual cast content. We are going to be covering a whole bunch of Android, iOS, mobile stories that have been curated by our very own Andy here, as well as talking about some IoT camera woes, some AWS stuff, a whole bunch of stuff about breaches and malware and ransomware for you. We got some cool tools, tactics, and procedures, and of course, just some general InfoSec articles that really didn't fit anywhere else. Now, we're also going to try and make this cast no more than 2 hours this time because, Andy needs his sleep, and we don't want to keep him up all night. And, yeah. So, how are y'all doing? How was your week?
Interviewful. Disappointed about some things. Kind of sleepy, trying to get my sleep pattern and trying to keep obsessive thoughts out of my head. But annoying people on Twitter is making that really difficult because I know they exist.
Yeah, you can pretend they don't, though. They'll go away eventually. They get bored and move on to a new target.
Yeah, either that or they change the name. But I've been good. I had like a week off last week, obviously. I just figured that I maybe couldn't do 3 weeks in a row, being up till like 3 a.m. So I'm probably going to try and get here every other week. I think that probably makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I've been trying to do like more blue teamy type stuff. Like I red teamer for 6 years and been looking at like some of our internal blue team tools and trying to understand and feeling like a noob again, which is an interesting experience. Yeah.
You and I should talk shop after. Well, not after this cast. You'll be sleeping. But another time.
Sounds good.
Stuff. Iron Geek. Any other news with you?
Not particularly. Trying to get something off the ground. Oh, by the way, anybody who's interested, we have a CFP open, a call for papers open for Who's Your HackerCon. If you go to who'syourhackercon.com, there should be a CFP link towards the top of the page.
Yeah, man. Any of you who listen to this and are interested and have a good idea for a talk, I recommend you submit. I mean, we're going to try and make this a really great conference. I got to get off my lazy ass and start emailing people and trying to get some sponsors and stuff like that. But yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to make this kick ass.
I need to pull a figure out my ass and get a talk together as well. Maybe awesome. That's my objective this week.
Very good. My objective this week is to clean my apartment, do my laundry, and stop wallowing in self-pity. All right. So, starting off, I'm going to go to show notes. Oh, other thing. I got an email from HushCon East. They are canceling their conference in New York City come late summer this year. And HushCon is an awesome conference, but unfortunately, due to Corona, they have decided to kind of postpone it again. But it is a very good con if you guys can figure out how to get an invite somehow. It is HushCon after all. Dickie's Discord. Hello, Dickie. How's your Discord doing? We have also our people out in Texas. We wish them the best and that they get electricity and water and all those wonderful things again shortly. And if they don't, it's a good time to test out those survivalist skills you've been working on when you're looking at those YouTube channels. All right, let's start out with the show notes. So this week, I'm going to start out with the Android stuff. Android, iOS, anything mobile-like, right? Andy has been kind enough to help me go through my raw listing of all the crap I steal from RSS feeds and kind of organize it in a coherent way. Coherent is not a word. Coherent way. So if he feels like taking any of these, he is more than welcome to do so. And I also need to share my screen so that people can see the show notes. There we go. Excellent. Okay. Starting off, security bugs left unpatched an Android app with 1 billion downloads. That's a lot of downloads for an Android app. So this app is called Share It. It is an app designed for sharing files between users and their devices. This article comes to us courtesy of Catalin Sampanu, who writes some really good shit for ZDNet Zero Day. Okay. Did you want to take this one or you want me to go?
Yeah, sure, I'll take it. So Trend Micro did some research about this Share It app. It's been downloaded more than 1 million times. And they found that they could manage in the middle of some of the traffic. They could send information so they could create a rogue app, put this on the device that's got this Share It app in, and they can just write to random directories, which Share It app would then pull data from. And essentially, they could get remote code execution. So they did the responsible thing. They tried contacting the developer, like, hey, do you know that your app's really shitty? Like for 3 months, they tried different routes to get to the vendor. I mean, this is a common story for anyone that's kind of had any kind of vulnerability disclosure to vendors. Like they either go like one of 3 ways: either hear nothing at all, either they say thank you, or like you get like some shitty response about you should not be breaking the law looking at our app. And generally, the most of my interactions have fallen into the hey, we're just not going to respond. So this seems quite familiar. They said that all of their apps together are downloaded almost 2 billion times. And as far as I know, it's still not fixed. I could be wrong. But yeah, they got RCE from an app which has been downloaded 1 billion times. So slightly worrying.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. Next, we've got the Loader-Rat. Windows malware is now also targeting Android devices. So Loader-Rat being a Windows Trojan, it's got some credential stealing capabilities, has now expanded its scope and set its sight on Android devices. Probably they chose Android because, iOS apps are a real pain in the ass to get approved. Yep. So the group that's behind the malware is called Casablanca, with a K, not a C. And they have deployed this rat in an ongoing hybrid campaign targeting Bangladeshi users. They seem to have chosen Bangladesh because they're specifically singling out people for this campaign who are there, but we don't quite know exactly why they're doing that. Proofpoint has been following them since 2017. Their Windows malware was just written with AutoIt, which is a framework that you can use if you want to automate stuff on your computer. It's like a poor man's Selenium and Chrome driver. And it's cool shit. So, like I said, they're now targeting Android as well and targeting Bangladeshi people. So if you don't live in Bangladesh, you probably don't need to worry about that one. Sticker sent on Telegram could have exposed your secret chats. This is another one. All right. So you want to cover this? Or you want me to get it?
Yeah, sure. So this is from last year. So it regained responsible disclosure. Like private researcher found that it affected like iOS, Android, macOS versions. So I guess like a lot of the users that use Telegram. They disclose them responsibly, like patches went out last year, and they don't fully really explain like the proof of concept from what I can tell, but they say that it wasn't trivial, right? So it wasn't like, hey, you just click the button and it's remote exploit. But what they did say is that actually, if you think nation state wide, maybe this is something like a nation state could have abused, but they wait 90 days, Telegram pushed the patches out, and then they disclose this. Not a lot else.
Very cool. Yeah. Next, we have military nuclear entities under target by novel Android malware. And novel is one of those words not everybody quite understood until recently with the pandemic and novel coronavirus. So, like, what's novel mean? It means like unique, not seen before. So, why don't you take this one, Mr. Andy?
Yeah, so I didn't read a whole lot of detail other than this article.
I'll just do it on the fly then. So, 2 malware families have sophisticated capabilities to exfiltrate SMS messages, WhatsApp content, and geolocation. Researchers have uncovered these 2 new Android surveillance frameworks that are being used by apps, and they're targeting military, nuclear, and election facilities in Pakistan and Kashmir. The two malware families are being called Hornbill and Sunbird, and have sophisticated capabilities to be able to exfiltrate your SMS messages, encrypted messaging content, geolocation, and other sensitive information. Malware was first seen in December of 20. No, they saw one in May of 2018, the other one in December of 2020. One of the samples actually goes all the way back to 2017. The fact that they are targeting military, nuclear, and election entities is scary. I imagine they're probably getting lists of who works at these places with something like LinkedIn, and then finding their numbers and then texting them, hoping they will download whatever the hell exploit they're using to get them to download and execute this code. So next, we've got Apple will proxy safe browsing requests to hide iOS users' IPs from Google.
Yeah, this is kind of weird. So, like, we all know that Google make their money from data, right? They're not really privacy focused, and I don't think they make any pretense that they're privacy focused. So what Apple has said is, hey, we're going to route your traffic, in private browsing, so not all traffic. And then if if there's malicious websites you're visiting actually, or if you're just going to Google, we're going to look like all your traffic's come through Apple rather than leaking your own private IP address. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, I guess, like what Google do. I think we spoke about it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago in regards to like email, where Google will cache and visit that page for you if there's any links. So you're not leaking your IP, you're leaking Google's. So I guess it's a focus on privacy. It's just, I don't know. I can't see.
I imagine even like with Google searches, like say you go to Google and you search for something, like I go Google Adrian Crenshaw, whatever. I Google something, right? And I look at these links that are here, right? I click it, I think it's going right there, but it's not. When you actually take that and copy the link, if you look at where it's going, it's for some reason going to where it's supposed to. Mm-hmm. But that's not usually the way it happens. I think I have a plugin that just turns that off. But normally, if you were to copy this and then go here, it's going to redirect you. Oh man, this is a hard fail. This is why you don't do it live.
Yeah, but normally you get like loads of tracking crap.
There's usually like a g.co. something in there. Like it doesn't normally just bring you to the actual website. I think I screwed around with some settings a while back to turn that off. But normally when you Google, the way they make their money, so they know which link you clicked, is by when you go there, they do a redirect on each thing you click on the main page, and it lets them inject like their ad stuff in there and their tracking info and all that, so they can like tell the site which users coming and which ads to load up for you, all that fun stuff. Oh, by the way, I have a friend who new friend, and they were telling me what they do for a living. I thought it was really cool. So they're a programmer, and they program in like C++, and apparently they make their money by working for a company that sells ads to the top bidder in real time as somebody visits a web page based on a whole bunch of factors that are instantaneously determined about the person based on like a unique database of everybody, combining like their IP addresses that they're known to come from, what accounts are linked to it. It's like really creepy ad type stuff when you think about how they're getting this data and how they have profiles on everybody. Like even if you're in incognito mode, they still know who you are and what all your ad preferences are because it's tied to like your IP address. So it's like, yeah, all right.
So I've got a funny story about that. We used to work in like a shared offices, like serviced offices. And so we all came from like one IP address going out. Like we had one router, and it was like maybe like 20 or 30 companies. And Amazon uses the same trick, right? They don't deliver cookies. They're just like, hey, we're going to target you by your IP address. Mm-hmm. So I just went to Amazon and I just started like looking for sex toys, like just for a joke. So that whoever like was working in the offices next door, like suddenly would get like a massive amount of sex toys advertising. Yeah, that's how I spend my days at work.
That is very nice. So similar thing, they actually have really cool other ways that they can get you. They have these things called super cookies, which are in the actual the fave icons that you get like with a web page at the top. They actually have the ability to like inject code into that fave icon that's unique and can identify you across sites and across browsers.
Wow.
Like Windows has a fave icon cache, and it's shared across like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, everything. So if they send you a unique fave icon, they can use that to identify you, no matter what browser or if you're in incognito. Yeah, fun stuff. Sorry, I digress. I know this is not in the show notes, but sometimes I get distracted.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. Apple will proxy these safe browsing requests that we were talking about, and they're going to move on to the next one now. Secret chat in Telegram left self-destructing media files on devices.
So this is only macOS as well. This isn't like all of their apps. Mm-hmm. This is just a macOS thing, and I guess it's that kind of when people think about secret chats. I guess Snapchat's the same. Like, where does that data go? Like it has to be cached somewhere. And like again, a researcher disclosed this. I mean, they got like $3,000 for bug bounty program, but they found that these secret chats were being cached in like a library container folder, and they could just look at them. Nothing like super surprising, I guess. But I guess it's bad advertising on the fact that like the incognito mode and these kind of secret messaging apps leave crap in memory.
Snapchat had a similar issue. Like all the girls were using them to send naked photos of themselves that they could destroy, right? And then it was found out that it was literally much just saving them to a freaking folder on the phone that you could just go find later. But now they think they fixed that a while ago, but it was still a thing. Plus, what's stopping somebody from just taking a freaking screenshot, right? Security. How do you remove SSL certificate exemptions in iOS? Yeah, as a security guy, SSL is a pain in my ass when I want to monitor somebody's network because nobody wants to crack it open. Nobody wants to install cert on everybody's box, right? So a lot of traffic you miss that you could otherwise get some good intel about. It's very unfortunate. Makes my life a pain in the ass. And DOH is a real pain in my ass. But let's move. How do you remove SSL cert in iOS? So I don't know how this ended up in the show notes because it's very, very short. But when connecting to a URL via HTTPS and the SSL certificate doesn't match, iOS shows a dialog asking if it should be expected. If you accept the cert, iOS adds an exception. There are two. Why the fuck did I put this in the show notes? This is so stupid. Anyway, this shouldn't have been here. This is my fault. This is like I should screen my shit better and not put stupid things in there. 7 WhatsApp alternatives that won't share your data with Facebook. So WhatsApp, right, is a messaging application very similar to Signal or Wire. And there are other ones that do, like all of them, nothing does everything perfectly. They made a nice little chart for us that we can look at here that kind of like shows the differences. Is it open source? Is that got end-to-end encryption? Telegram does not, which you would think it did, right? Because it literally covers like all the other bases almost. No, it doesn't actually cover any of the bases. Telegram sucks. Signal's better. So it doesn't have an anonymous sign up, right? And you cannot make your own server, but it is fairly secure, even though they did recently have an issue with the proxy servers that they were offering people to download and set up that they then claimed wasn't an issue. And like they made their reporter retract their story, but whole other thing. Signal's good. Use Signal, use Tor. Threema is decent. I used to use Threema work with a group of my friends from Tool, New York City, back when that was a thing. And Threema is pretty good. It can be a real pain in the ass if you forget your password. But it's a very secure chat app. It doesn't offer any video. That's kind of important to some people, though. Telegram, like I said, it doesn't have end-to-end. It has no group video. It has minimal metadata logged. It doesn't have anonymous sign up, but they do own their own servers. Threema is in Switzerland. The only downside is there's no group chat, and everything else is amazing, according to this. Don't know anything about the Telegram other than them selling data and tracking users abroad. Yeah, it's probably true. I don't know. I've not heard about that, but it wouldn't surprise me. WickerMe is one I've never heard of before. It is fully open source. It's got end-to-end encryption. It is not openly audited. It does not have group chat. It's got minimal data logged, and there's no anonymous sign up. Questionable about the whole who owns the servers thing. And it's US based, so Element looks really good, except for it hasn't been openly audited. Other than that, it looks really good. I've never used it. Keybase. So Keybase, I got some issues with, right? So Keybase, a lot of people have used it, and they like it. Like, you can store your keys on there too, because it's called Keybase, and like people can verify you are who you say you are. You put like your PGP key and stuff on there as well. But they've been censoring people lately based on political ideology issues in the US, like people who had been tweeting about 3D printed guns. They just destroyed their accounts for no reason. Like, they didn't even give them a strike. They just took them down and then didn't respond when they were like, hey, where'd my account go? Yeah. Not a fan of any place that, will just do that with your stuff.
Because they were talking about 3D printed guns?
Yeah. So there's, I don't think I put this in the show notes, but there was a porn star who, big gun enthusiast, and they did a story on their Pornhub, and then it had something to do with like you could 3D print an AR-15, and
parts of it. Actually, there is milling machines. So yeah, I guess you can count milling machines and shit. I think you could, but go ahead. All
right. I'm not going to go into the specifics of how to make the gun, but essentially they were posting a video favoring that this was a thing, right? And somebody, like on Keybase, that I don't know, they were doing something where they were promoting this content, and Keybase just nuked them. It was like, we do not support anybody who distributes information about making weapons.
You're going to see a lot more stupidity upcoming about 3D printed guns. I need to go find it, but some of Biden's plans about gun control, one of them involves controlling, I don't know about the equipment, but controlling access to the files for being able to print 3D guns. And I'm like, that's not fucking possible, you fucking idiot. Dude, we need politicians who are more technically literate than what we got.
See, what they can do is they can't, like, actively stop people from sharing it. If they try to, people are just going to share that shit even more.
Well, code is free speech. I thought that's been determined in the past.
Yeah. See if this is the same article.
So the WhatsApp thing interested me because about maybe 2 months ago, WhatsApp, at least in Europe, made an announcement that they were going to start sharing data with Facebook, and a lot of press in the UK were like, this is wild, what's going on? They started pushing people away from WhatsApp, and then WhatsApp were like, no, we didn't mean you guys, we meant the States. The Europe, because you've got this GDPR thing, you're all fine. So I don't know if Facebook then recalled that, the data sharing elsewhere. But they said, we made a mistake and we didn't mean to include this in our EU terms and conditions.
Wow. That's some crazy shit. Privacy, it's like, seems eroding every day. And it's like you get a little bit less. And it's like they keep using the whole framing. Like, would you rather be safe or would you rather have your privacy? And the two should not have to be, a trade-off. Like, you can have both, Like, for the children, we need to censor everything for the children. Like, why can't the parents just keep their freaking kids off the internet?
I've heard the safety versus privacy thing before. Usually I've seen the frame of safety versus freedom, but yeah, I imagine several situations where safety versus privacy, especially when you're concerned about state, state surveillance.
It's a common argument in encryption. So, like, my boss is all pro. The government should be able to crack everything open and like see what you're doing. And if you don't have anything to hide, you shouldn't have to worry. I'm more like, if people want an encrypted communication application, they should be able to have one without worrying that the government's going to intentionally force them to make it weaker encryption so that they can get into it. And we've had this argument back and forth, me and my boss. But like, I'm more pro gung ho about crypto. Like, people should be able to use cryptography to, have their own little private chat. Like, if you are with your friends and you want to go into a corner and have a little chat and not be overheard, that's fine. And there should be an online equivalent to that where you don't have to worry about somebody eavesdropping on your conversation. That's just my opinion. And yes, you can use the whole argument. Well, what if terrorists are using it for evil? But terrorists can use anything for evil, and it's like they're always going to ban everything. All right, sorry, that's my rant. This is not the same article as the one I was talking about, but it's similar. I couldn't find the original one without going through my Google history. This is the whole. There's like 3D printed gun thing. So people have been making 3D printed guns for a while. They usually are shit, right? This guy figured out a way to make an AK that is not shit. Shoots a few thousand times before it breaks instead of like twice. The plans for this essentially are like he also calls it fuck gun control 9mm. That's a cool name. It's mostly 3D printed, but the rest of the shit that's not 3D printed you can just buy at a hardware store. It's not like you don't have to go get your own CNC mill.
I've seen this one gun that they talk about. It's called FGC 9, which the 9 is for 9mm, and the FGC is fuck gun control. And they have things for instructions, I think, for making your own barrel and everything. I've seen other improvised parts because in the U.S., I don't know how it does in other countries, but certain parts of the gun are considered the actual gun. Usually, probably my thing with the serial number on it. So a lot of times you could order things like barrels, firing pins, so on and so forth, depending on what part is considered the actual gun part. You can even order them online, at least for now. There's some plans to undo that. But yeah, apparently the FGC 9, from what I've seen, seems to be a pretty advanced version of what you can do with 3D printing in a gun. Short of having, I'm not even sure you need a steel mill to make it.
Right. So you probably don't. I haven't looked at the actual instructions to make this because I was too lazy to Google and find them. But from what the article is saying about it is it's literally, you have your initial investment of $250 for a 3D printer, and then like $100 more and shit you get from the hardware store, and the rest of the investment is just your time figuring out how to put it all together. And I can see people blowing their hands off with this, but still, it's their right to do so.
3D printed guns are still a little shaky to me.
So this one, it's not all 3D printed. I mean, a lot of it is, but I think the thing is they're saying this thing would be safe to fire a couple thousand times rather than your typical 3D printed gun that's like 3 shots, 1 to 3 shots, and then done.
Depending on what kind of design it is. If it's something like the Liberator, I think it was like 1 shot of 380.
Yeah, the Liberator was a 1-shot gun. It was like more of a proof of concept thing, really. But this is like actually making a functional weapon that you could use to like go hunting or something. I don't know. Hunting probably not being the right application for an AR-15, but hey, whatever.
Depends on what you're hunting. I got a buddy who hunts coyotes with it.
Wow, that sounds like fun. I would kind of like to do that someday. Next, we've got more shit that are actually in the show notes that Frank didn't just pull out of his ass. So a barcode scanner app with millions of downloads decided to go rogue. And by go rogue, what do we mean? We do not mean it became a member of the X-Men. We do not. So
this is interesting because it had been around for a little while. It had 10 million downloads. And then all of a sudden, they just pushed a malicious update, and it used the actual the signature and the certificate from the authors. So maybe they got paid off and was like, "Hey, can you just like put some malware in?" And it was nothing like nothing horrendous. So it's like injecting ads when you open the browser, that kind of stuff. There wasn't. It's not great, but it's not horrific. But it's just interesting that malware offers are now. And we spoke about this with Chrome add-ons a couple of weeks ago, but wait for something legitimate to get big, pay some money, buy it out, do bad stuff.
Exactly. I mean, look, you can make some stupid app that does something really simple. Like all those flashlight apps were malware, right? And they didn't start out that way. A lot of them, it was just a freaking flashlight app, and then it got an update, and then it was malware. It's like common attack trajectory with Android shit. Especially since once you have an app approved in the App Store, they don't vigorously scan updates as much as they scan the original. So get away with a lot of shit with updates, especially if you do your own updates within the app too, as opposed to having the Android App Store pull down a whole new version.
Yeah, Facebook did that for a while, and Google came down on them pretty hard because they didn't like it. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, even if you just need to do one update, which is like, be evil, then just one update would do.
That'd be a good function for any Google app. Yep. We've decided to abandon our core philosophy of don't be evil. We want money, so we're just going to do what we want. All right. Next, we've got a camera nursery cam shit show. I like the way you renamed that article. You should take this one.
Sure. So this is by a researcher in the UK called Cyber Gibbons. He's very well known, really funny guy, and he does like a lot of hardware hacking. And he did some stuff with I'm sure like the BitFi wallet, like last year or maybe the year before, where they were like, "Hey, we'll give you $10,000 if you can crack this wallet," and he did, and they were like, "No, we didn't mean like that. We meant like hack it in a different way," and they just kept moving the goalposts. But so he did this stuff with nursery cams. So the idea being that like, "Hey, I'm going to send my kids to school, to nursery, like kindergarten, I guess," and as a concerned parent, right, I don't necessarily trust the people at the nursery or the kindergarten, so I want to be able to like log in remotely and see that like what's going on with my kids, because that's what we do now with our children. We put them under constant surveillance. So it turns out that like these were just having default creds that you couldn't change. So a few weird things happen. First of all, like if you stop paying, like the URL would still work, so you could still log in with those credentials, because those credentials were shared with every other single person that had ever registered, and there was no way of changing them, or no one was changing them by default. The other thing is that if your kid is in room 1, you can just go and like, "Hey, I want to look at room 2," for no reason whatsoever. And they just refused to. They were like, "Hey, we're doing all this over HTTPS. This is the vendor's response."
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the Wireshark the traffic, and you're like, "Nope, this is all over HTTP." It's just like, yeah,
login page on HTTPS, then everything else over HTTP.
Yeah, it's just
or even worse, they'll just do like HTTP on port 443 and be like, "It's fine."
Yeah, it's just like it's a very, very long article. I know, and if you're interested in this kind of like IoT, like connect over to the internet, it's worth a read. But yeah, they disclosed that the vendor's response was awful.
Yeah, they tend to be. Speaking of hardware hacking, like there's this company in New York called Red Balloon Security, and they like go to all the cons and they bring really cool gadgets for everyone to play with. Like they hacked an ATM, right? And they give you like 2 credit cards, and you had to try and figure out how you could get money out of the hacked ATM. And they put their own firmware on it, and you could like see it on the network and fuck with it. Very cool stuff. But that dude is like the most. I think his name's Ong. But he owns that company. He's like one of the most amazing hardware hackers. He did this cool thing called Funtenna that I still can't figure out how the hell he did it, but I've been trying to figure out and reverse engineer it forever. So he made it so you can send data to a printer over a standard like print connection, right? And then if you've got a radio, a software-defined radio, you can actually exfiltrate data from the print job sent to the printer without actually having to change any of the firmware on the printer or like modify any of the internals. You could literally like send this print job, spool it, and then the printer is somehow going to be transmitting data on the GPIO port that you can pick up some with an antenna. I think he got the baud rate all the way up to like 32400 at one point, which is more than enough to do like a serial connection and do things. Anyway, I thought it was really neat.
That's cool.
I'm sorry, I'm a fanboy sometimes. I actually wanted to like go intern with him over the summer. He offered to let me do it, but I could not convince the wife at the time to let me go do something for free every day. Like, you need to work and make money. I'm like, fuck my life. All right. Nursery camp stuff's evil though. I mean, you're gonna hack something. Don't hack kids. But
yeah, the potential for it is concerning to say the least. I guess the kind of people that could abuse this functionality just isn't worth thinking about.
I remember people screwing with kids in their houses over those IP cameras that were from Ring. Maybe like they'd find a kid alone in a room and they'd start talking to the kid, and the kid's parents would come in and they'd be like, who are you talking to? And she's like, just the man in the computer. Like,
oh man.
The fuck?
Yeah, if I had kids, I think that would definitely disturb me.
Yeah. And the guy's like, hi, I'm a security researcher. I'd be like, fuck you, security researcher.
One of our friends, actually, she has a daughter now, and she adopted and apparently some really weird shit that comes over chats and games and such. They're just like, okay, why are you talking to like a 15-year or something like that, year old girl, but like this shit? Another thing weird I noticed, like Facebook algorithms are strange. it recommended me a friend as a for friending a person who I had. It was a girl who was in high school who I had no actual mutual connections to. Why the hell would they recommend it to me as a possible friend on
Maybe you got drunk and stalked her profile once, and then like a month later, Facebook's like, you know what? We're going to recommend that be your friend.
Nah, I'm having my doubts on that. I look at entirely different things when I'm drunk.
Yeah. Now, I'm still friends with some girls I liked in high school that I never got with.
Well, no, I'm not saying I remember from high school. I'm saying this girl is still in high school.
Oh, shit.
I don't have any connections with her. I have no connections. Like, I've been recommended like friends' daughters before or so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I had no connection with this person, and they were in high school, and Facebook's recommending as a possible friend connection. I'm like, huh?
That's a little creepy. Anyway, next we got misconfigured baby monitors allow for unauthorized viewing. This is in the same vein of the first article we had, which is probably why it was put in the same area. A vulnerability affecting multiple baby monitors could allow someone to drop in and view a cam's video stream. Potentially hundreds of thousands of live devices are impacted. This issue exists because of the RTSP implementation on the remote video camera. It's possible to misconfigure it very easily and make it so there's no authentication needed. And then all you pretty much need to do is visit the port with like VLC, you know. Initial research on Shodan shows there's a bunch of them out there. Safety Detectives Team, which is the gayest InfoSec sounding name, uncovered 11,000 open source cameras. Essentially, somebody used Shodan and found something, and it's like, this is my discovery. Of these cameras, about half of them are being used as CCTV. So some of them are like in shops, some of them are in exteriors. This was kind of like the whole VLC roulette thing back in the day, where you could just go to a random VLC server and see somebody's computer. Or like back in the day, somebody also had one of these where you could just like randomly go to somebody's open webcam and they'd like aggregate a list of a whole crap ton of webcams. You know, it's just not new, but you know, it's still an issue, especially when you got IP webcams that are being repackaged as baby monitors with no security or authentication, and people who are not InfoSec people go and set these up in their house, and now anybody who goes to their home IP address does an Nmap scan, sees a port open, and decides, let me see what this RTSP stream is, and they load up VLC and configure it to go there, can now see into your home. So that's a little scary. Yeah, I actually had a former coworker I was friends with reach out to me out of the blue. She was convinced that somebody was like able to see into her house based on some of the messages and stuff that she'd gotten from them. And she gave me like her IP address, and I scanned it, and there was a video system on there, and there was a known exploit for it. So she was probably right.
Damn.
Scary shit. Also, even scarier that it was some person she knows, right? Like that they would then mention something to her that she would, you know, that's like a whole nother creep factor. And like if you're gonna perv on somebody in their own home, don't then tell them that you're doing it like covertly. Like that's just stupid. Be a perv and just don't be an ass, you know, or don't be a perv and don't be an ass. You know, I'm sorry, I don't know. My ethics are really strange, but going forward. Oh, speaking of hot girls from high school, one of them just messaged me. Yay! All right. So that's that. Next, we've got AWS. So AWS is a shit show. All right, I'm gonna tell you something, and this is totally, I guess you could call it a zero a day. I tried to inform them about it, but they didn't want to talk to me, so I'll just blow it for them. I accidentally found an OpenS3 container, right? And this container had every single security, irony here, computer security book offered by a particular company available on it. And all I needed to do to find this was to traverse the directory where one book I bought was up to the next directory level, and I found every single book that company sold. Now, given it wasn't like a direct HTML link to each book, what it was a file that was in a standardized HTML like format. It was, I think, it doesn't matter. It was a YAML file, I think, whatever the fudge it was. But in that file, they had a link for each and every book. All you need to do was take the URL in there and paste it to the end of the website. And so I just wrote a script to automatically grab everything. It's literally a 2-liner in Bash. And I was able to pull down freaking everything this company sells. Now, I could tell you what company it is, but my luck, I would then end up getting some mean knocks on the door. So I'm not going to tell you, but let's just say it's a security company, and we often use their articles in this podcast. And they have a relationship with a third party who seems to run this for them, and they sell books on their site. Yeah, you can probably figure out which one it is if you actually look through any of our show notes. But yeah, sorry, not sorry. They're not really like a 0 day, but it is interesting nonetheless. I did find a really cool thing this week unintentionally. So I was going through traffic on one of my customer networks, and I saw somebody had a plugin that would essentially sling some content from the sites that they were browsing to a program that would then download that content on their NAS device, which was probably at home. But it was authenticating clear text, right? So I then looked at the program, which I'm not going to say the name of, and I saw that pretty much when you do a default install, it always installs with the same username password combo. So then I did a Shodan search for that program plus its port and managed to find about 1,700 of them. And then I learned how to use another program that I should have already known how to use called Hydra, and verified that I can access about 900 of them. And then I downloaded it locally and started playing with it and realized you could upload a script to it and then execute that script on the web server with permissions of the user running the program. So that would be, I guess, like an attack chain right there if somebody were so inclined. I tried to let the developers know, and they killed my GitHub issue right away. So, it's an open source project, so that's how it goes. Sorry, not sorry.
I added all these AWS links, but I guess the most interesting one is number 3, which is the Salesforce endgame. So I guess we can just jump to that. So what happened is I noticed this morning that Salesforce released this endgame like code, but then within an hour they revoked it, right? But that's not how it works on the internet. So I had a quick look into what was going on, and basically they released all this code so that if you've got access to an AWS environment, like through a compromise or whatnot, you can immediately use their little tool to backdoor the whole AWS account for you, so you can come back to it later, establish persistence. And I thought that was quite cool. Salesforce clearly did. They put time into investing into it, but then for some reason pulled it. But yeah, I guess if you're interested in AWS backdoors, there's a little tool out there for this.
That's awesome. I wonder why they pulled it right away. Do you think they meant to like put it in their private repo for like employees and they published it publicly?
It definitely does feel like this. Like this isn't like because it was only up for like a couple of hours. It doesn't feel like this is something that you would like. Oh no, we're going to revoke this. It just seems like super strange. Yeah, I did exactly that. I did exactly that this morning as well.
Oh no! Shoal, it's gone. Well, you're gonna have to send me that because it's gone now. But
Yeah,
I'll
cool.
also probably just pull it down file by file and reconstruct it. But that'd be a pain in my ass.
Yeah, I've got a zip. I'll drop it.
Thanks. Next, we've got migrate data leak endgame. I think this one got a little screwed up. We're going to skip over that because I don't even know what the hell it is. Breaches, malware, and ransomware is next. Darknet markets going out of business. Where are users headed next? From Kayla. I like this company, but my God, is their shit expensive. So it is a company that does a lot of darknet research, and they offer an ability to actually search darknet forums like Magpo and like all those places the bad guys go and they try and sell shit they've stolen, whether it be credit cards or access to websites they've hacked and shit like that, right? So these guys actually archive all that, and then if you want to like figure out if your company had their stuff sold, you can go with them. I got I tried to get their services for my company, but they are so freaking expensive. Like their main platform is like $100,000 a year if you want access to it. So all right. Sorry, didn't mean to give them a free commercial right there. So the Joker Stash was one of the largest darknet credit card marketplaces. It had been around for a while. It got shut down the other day. And we don't know. It says fucking COVID. I got infected with COVID 14 days ago. Yada, yada, yada. So Joker shut down his forum, essentially. It's not like he got popped by the police. But criminals are not like, oh no, I can't go to that place I normally get my credit cards, my stolen credit cards. Let me just not steal credit cards, right? They find another place to go. So question is, where'd they all go, right? Another one got seized, right? This one here, right? I didn't really read through all this. Oh, look, it looks like seizure banners appeared on the Joker Stash sites as well. Wow, I guess he did get popped then. So I don't know what the whole COVID thing was. Maybe he got COVID then got popped. I don't know. Regardless, his site is down, and then others are, going and popping up. And they're tracking where the bad guys are going, and they're finding them. And now people are going to Brian's Club, right? It's another darknet marketplace. It's taking advantage of Joker Stash closure by offering vendors an incentive to start new accounts on their site. Essentially, if you pop them, give them $25, they're going to give you access to about 100,000 credit cards from a bunch of dumps. And it's not like these are unique credit cards. Everybody's got these now, so it's like, not going to be able to actually use them probably, but yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, so that's, essentially they're tracking where people are going, and that's kind of neat. So they do good research. Dutch police post friendly warnings on hacking forum. This one I liked. So this one, everyone makes mistakes. We're waiting for yours, Netherlands police. Message here. It is literally from an account called Netherlands Police, and they're essentially mocking in a nice way. On the 26th January, the Netherlands Police took control over the Emotet botnet, dismantled the infrastructure, and seized data on its users. Emotet was one of the most prolific botnets of the past decade. It ultimately failed to escape the reaches of the Netherlands Police and its international partners. Hosting criminal infrastructure in the Netherlands is a lost cause. Evidence? A YouTube video. The Netherlands Police will continue to focus on the abuse of our infrastructure. We aim at botnets and related malware like Ryuk, TrickBot, and many others. We feed on underground information sources and the cybersecurity industry. We will leave no stone unturned in our finding those committed to cybercrime. You might lose your liberty. You might not just lose your bots in your business. As you know, the Netherlands Police are always the first to next season catalogs, whatever that means. International law enforcement continues to work collectively against cybercrime, wherever it is committed, unless it's in Malaysia. Everyone makes mistakes. We are waiting for yours. Check where traders host their infrastructure. Avoid those that use the Netherlands. If you want share more information about the criminal activities related to the Netherlands, send a Telegram message to this number. I'm going to send a Telegram message to that number. January 10th, ? I don't know. I don't know what the date is asking. Anyway, so yeah, that was the article. I liked it. It was good. Klopp ransomware gang leaks Jones Day law firm data to the dark web. So Klopp ransomware, which is just a hilarious name for a piece of ransomware. If you don't know what Clop is, you are missing out on a whole bunch of My Little Pony porn. A group of cybercriminals known for Clop ransomware operations leaked data stolen from the U.S.-based law firm Jones Day on the dark web. Jones Day is a high-profile law firm, and they represented ex-President Donald Trump in all of his brushes with the law. It is the 10th largest law firm in terms of gross revenue. And they've also got clients such as JP Morgan Chase. Wow. They represent JP Morgan Chase. They're not having a good day. I got to take a break on this article and just show you guys something else.
What's that?
No, it's the wrong bank. Never mind. Okay. All right. Procter & Gamble, Alphabet, and Google. Databreaches.net, which is the first to report the incident, claimed that the group compromised the Acelion FTA file transfer platform to access its servers, but they didn't penetrate the network. However, the Wall Street Journal reports the hackers denied any such attempt and claimed that they directly accessed the network. Hackers told databreaches.net they hacked one of the servers associated with Acelion and took the data. They also targeted other systems. They told Vice, when are hackers giving interviews? What is this shit? This is like freaking weird. Like, anyway, hackers told Vice that they didn't encrypt the Jones data network after stealing the data. Why don't we have these rock star hackers just giving interviews? This is not what you do. You don't hack something and then call the media. The fuck?
This is a little second Anonymous's fault. They started all this like let's speak to the media crap.
Hey, I'm not going to comment on that. Let me just say, if I ever see Sabu, I'm going to punch him in the face. The hackers posted on the website that they've stolen about 100 gigs of files from Jones Day. That's a decent amount of files. That's not like 1 file, 2 file, 3 file more. That's a lot of files. You can do a lot of things with all those files if they're law firm files. From my experience, a lot of legal documents require your social security number and other things. It's not good. Bong. I changed the logo. Look, that's the AV Unit logo up there now. Now we're AV Unit. That was the one guy from LulzSec who got away. So I thought that was funny. Second major law firm attack. Jones Day is the second law firm with the private data being exposed in the last 2 weeks. The data exposure is a suspected breach of Acelion that offers file transfer services to most law firms and other organizations. They leaked 4.75 gigabytes of this data. And that's a decent amount of data. I'm not gonna lie. That's somebody's gonna go through that and probably find some really good shit, right? I also came across today, which was in one of the random Telegram groups I joined, a list of darknet data breaches that are just happened, which I don't know. What am I going to put this in? Notepad, I guess? All right, that's Notepad++. Same shit. All right, so this is like a list of onion addresses that you probably can't see because it's going to be way too small, the resolution. Just take that, put them in, I don't know, docs, Google.
Your view isn't showing a screen at a minute as well.
I'm not. All right, well, it's probably for the best anyway. Because you wouldn't be able to read it. But give me 1 second. I shall put it back up. All right, there we go. So these are all onion addresses, which obviously you're not going to save and retype. But
yeah, maybe the layout's wrong on the stream. There we go. Cool.
It's the wrong. All right, so these are just like onion address. Nope. All right, I know. We'll change the font. We'll make it bigger so people can see. These are all just onion addresses. Somebody posted this to some random Telegram chat. It just said ransomware leak, and they're all freaking onion addresses, and each one of these is a data breach that was just released because the clients didn't pay. And there's like a whole bunch of them. This one, the egregor one, actually has like 30 of them on there. But yeah, I looked through these, of course, but I'm not going to do it on the cast. So that is that. Fun stuff. Next, we've got, too many windows open is what we've got. Let me go back over here and make you guys just see each other while I fix these windows.
Yeah. We don't want to see the tab about the midget foot porn.
Look, that was one time, man.
Well, don't be a giver up. I mean, it took me 5 or 6 times before I really got into it. No,
people are going to think we're freaking serious, too. They're going to know. All right. There was code on NVIDIA Git to clear that up if one had to. What band? What are you talking about, Dickie? I don't know what's happening. Dickie. Messed? Dickie's saying things in the chat, but I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't know if they're delayed messages or if he's just like watching some other cast but commenting here. Microsoft said a number of web shells has doubled since last year. Either they've actually doubled or Microsoft has just gotten better at detecting them.
By the way, if you need to put the screen back up, you got to change the pane as far as what it looks like. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You found it, yeah.
Yep. So Microsoft says it's seeing about 140,000 web shells a month, up from about 77,000 last August.
Yeah, like you say, it doesn't say that this is happening. It says Microsoft sees that this is happening now.
Yeah. Well, there's that whole causation versus correlation. Yeah. Microsoft is probably not the go-to people I would go to for InfoSec news, but they do, I guess, do some. And the web shells are more prevalent as more servers are put online. Well, no shit, Sherlock. But I think if you're seeing these web shells, right, then they're not very well hidden web shells. You know, it was like if I were going to upload a web shell, even if I were being a lazy ass and I just took one off GitHub and put it on some site, right, I would at least change the goddamn name of the web shell. So it would no longer say like, Sparky dot whatever. It would now say write up 6402.asp. It's like nobody, you don't keep the same name unless you're an idiot, which a lot of them kind of are. And they go through, the report talks about practicing good credential hygiene for some reason, which, okay. Auditing logs, you should do that, but nobody's going to. Network segmentation, extend antivirus protections to web servers, and patch public facing systems. Well, that should be a no shit Sherlock. If you're not patching your shit that's publicly exposed to the internet, you're just gonna have a bad day sooner or later. I had a client recently. They were running a SolarWinds like product. It was not SolarWinds, but it was on. It was exposed to the internet on one of their public IPs, and like, not smart for one, and two, it got popped. Somebody started like a connection outbound to Tor, which is how we figured that out. Which, you'd think that a threat actor popping a box would do something a little less suspicious right off the bat, but it's like they want to get caught, We covered the email thing already, didn't we? With the pixels in the email.
Yeah,
we covered it in the past, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Microsoft warns enterprises of new dependency confusion attack. So this is the NPM thing that we've been talking about in previous casts, where, look, check this out. This is really clever, right? So if you go to install something using NPM, sometimes it's got these dependencies in here, right? PP logger, auth PayPal, these, right? Oftentimes, these are dependency names that are used internally. So when you publish your program to like a site and then it goes to pull down those dependencies, it won't be able to find them because those are your internal dependencies. Like those are from your shit. So what people do is they take these and then they go and publish those dependencies so that'll pull from them. And then like they'll even Google, they'll find the right one and then they'll change it, right? This security researcher didn't even bother doing all that shit. All he did was throw up essentially a web page like a GitHub type thing, like NPM repository, whatever the hell you call it. Essentially, he's like, hey, you're going to pull these things for me instead of there. And in there, he even said, like, this is a security research project. Do not actually pull packages from this. But look, the tools are automated. They're not going to like, oh, there's a banner here telling me not to download this. You know, they just automatically pull that shit down from the first place they find. So, you know, like that NPM attack, right? Package managers, public, private, repositories, build processes. Yeah.
That's quite clever. I've seen stuff where people will rename packages like to like, so it's, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like one of the like put PyPython like or PyPI, like they'll put like 3 P's in it or something, and so like if someone mistypes it, but I've never seen this type of attack. That's quite cool.
Yeah, it's clever because what you're doing essentially is you're taking these repos that are not actually included. Like if it goes to go out to them, it can't find them.
Yeah.
Normally it would just continue the install and give you like an error message at the end. But now that you've registered these names, it's just going to pull yours down. So it could be a lot of evil done that way. Yeah.
Did they give anything about how to stop, like how to detect this kind of thing? Or are they just like, hey, stop it?
I don't think Catalan wrote about how to fix it.
Okay, cool.
So they did their test by searching for various times that big tech firms accidentally leaked the names of various internal libraries. Then they just registered those same libraries on package repositories like NPM, Ruby Gems, and PyPy. That way, they were successfully able to load their non-malicious code in. It could have been malicious, but they made theirs not. Inside apps used by 35 major tech firms, including Apple, Microsoft, PayPal, Shopify, Netflix, Yelp, Uber, and others. So besides NPM, you can do the same thing with Ruby Gems and PyPy. Essentially, any of these package managers. You can also even do it with NuGet, right? NuGet's a freaking pain in my ass. Getting that to work with Chocolatey, right? So that there was this free package, free NuGet repository manager server called Nexus. It was owned by Sonatype. Sonatype had this as open source, and a lot of people used it because it was free. It was open source. Now they got bought by somebody else, and that person's like, yeah, we're not going to continue maintaining that. So, yeah. There's going to be a lot of vulnerable Sonatype Nexus servers out there soon if you're a lazy ass and want to go hack something easy. Tracker pixels in emails we covered. Web shells we covered. PayPal fixed a reflected cross-site vulnerability in a user wallet currency converter. All right. Cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, right? Not Dicky. Who do I want to talk to? I forgot. Anyway, these are often kind of not taken seriously when they're reported because they're like a low value finding. But there's some serious evil that can be done with cross-site scripting. It just takes a little bit more work, right? If you can get an admin to click a link and you got like reflected cross-site scripting, when that admin clicks that link and it's their site, you now have the cookie and all the things you need to log in as that admin, right? It takes a lot more work. There's a whole thing, browser exploitation framework. There's some really cool stuff you can do with cross-site scripting. If you can get it working on a site and like somebody goes to their Gmail account in one tab and they're on a site that's got some cross-site scripting in another tab, and there you are on the back end playing with beef, you can now see that person's Gmail. So it can be done for evil. I'm sure our British friend here could explain it better than I can, but
yeah. So you can do stuff like you can capture keystrokes. So you can take screenshots of the desktop. You can do quite a lot of evil stuff. And typically what happens is you get a pen test and someone demonstrates some crappy finding where they have like an alert box and they don't really explain the risk very well, which is why it never gets fixed. So it looks like PayPal took this seriously, which is good. It's through HackerOne, so I guess the guy got a payout. I don't know if it says how much the person got. $3,000, or $2,900. Yeah, not too bad for. And if you can change stuff together, that's even better.
Yeah, there's There's a chapter in one of the books I was reading about chaining cross-site scripting attacks with SQL injection to do some cool shit. I gotta find it. I don't remember which book it is. All right, never mind. But yeah, there's cool shit. Seam rules ignore bulk of attack framework, placing risk burden on users. So yes, that is true. So if you've ever looked at the attack framework, right, there's some cool shit in there. I think it's actually built into Security Onion, if I remember correctly. If I go to Navigator here and put that over there, you know, they got an attack navigator. This is what they're talking about here. You got the initial access, execution, persistence, priv-esp, defense evasion, credentialed access, discovery, lateral movement, collection, command and control, exfiltration, and impact. These are like the domains of the MITRE attack framework. And within each one, you've got a whole bunch of stuff, right? And each one of them has a number. So you can be like, oh, somebody hacked a website. Their initial access was through phishing. Phishing is T1566, right? And then like they got the phishing, and then they went, they did some client exploitation, right? And they got that's T1203. They have all got like correlation numbers, and it's, I don't know. Look, are we really actually using this in the industry? That's the question. I think the article kind of covers that though. Nearly a study of 10 organizations found that on average, rules and policies tied to security information and event management solutions, or SIEM, cover only about 16% of tactics actually listed in the MITRE attack framework. Often considered a core component of security operations, SIEMs aggregate log data from various network sources and services to analyze them to detect threats. Meanwhile, the attack framework is considered one of the preeminent global repositories of attack methodologies used by threat actors. One might therefore believe that SIEMs and the MITRE attack framework would align more often, but they do not. That is because the case, according to the new report from Cardinal Ops, says when the company's findings demonstrate the true poor efficacy of average SIEM deployment.
Yeah, it turns out taking stuff out of the box. It doesn't cover all of your use cases. Who would have known?
Yeah. Look, if I'm working a SIEM, right, and I'm not going to, most of the time, I'm not going to have access to, say, the Exchange server, right? Like, I don't know if somebody clicked a freaking phishing email until they've made an outbound connection to a website. And at that point, I don't know if that email, if that came from an email or just a user browsing the web who clicked something, right? From my perspective on the SIEM, all I know is that somebody went somewhere they shouldn't, right? I know somebody went to like a site that's blacklisted. So how would I then, in initial access, be able to determine that was phishing? I wouldn't, not from the data I have available to me, which is one of the reasons I think that the attack framework, while it's very, very neat, doesn't necessarily always work in real life with when you're doing like an investigation, which will probably explain why so few SIEM products actually use it properly. Your thoughts?
I do wonder whether SIEM vendors are selling products on the back of this attack framework as well. Because otherwise, why would this study be? You know, I've never once thought, hey, this SIEM product is going to cover all 12 techniques and procedures about the MITRE attack framework. Seems like an odd piece to write. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine it was sponsored by McAfee, and they definitely sell some shit.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, so they've got a dog, you know, they've got skin in the game, I guess. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, agreed.
There is a defend framework as well, right? I think, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've used attack a lot in red team engagements and try and map the red team engagement to the attack framework, and we get the blue team to do the whole defend framework, and you cover them over each other, and in the middle you've got like the happy, you know, where hey, there's been an attack and we've been able to defend, you know, pick it up, and then in all the other spaces you're like, oh shit, like there's no chance you would have caught this. So yeah. But it kind of, it's like the OSI model, that like the 7 or 8 layer OSI model. It's just a model that people use. It doesn't mean anything. And I think people get stuck on the fact that, oh, we're using the MITRE attack framework, and that must mean that yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, there's the MITRE ATT&CK. There's the defend. I think at one point somebody had done a correlation between the attack framework and the defend framework, like showing the connections.
Yeah.
I don't remember when that was, but I definitely saw something about that. The reality is, though, as a defender or even as an attacker, while a lot of these methodologies are cool, you're probably going to have your own way of doing things. As an attacker, you're going to develop your own attack chain, right? You're going to have your own programs you're familiar with. It's like some guys, they're like, we're going to do a black box test, right? We're going to ship you a box, you're going to put it on your network, and then we're going to pop you. Those guys, essentially, 9 out of 10 of the ones I know, all they do is just run responder on the network. They grab a bunch of hashes, game over. You know, it's not a super complicated assessment. Not really all that useful to the client either, but everybody does stuff differently. So if you're doing a white box test and you just have the external IP space, right, you better be somewhat good with web apps because you're probably going to come across a few. I suck at web apps. But say you find like an Exchange server that's publicly facing, and you maybe then Google the domain, or you get the Google domain name, and then you go and you do like a dehash, right? And you go and find some user password creds that you can use on that site. You log in, and now you've got Exchange server access. What do you do from there, right? There's a lot of shit you can do from there. There's my go-to, which I haven't actually used in over a year now, but that's Ruler from SensePost. That's freaking awesome. You can set up Exchange rules that just will execute whatever code you want on the box that's running Outlook. Attach that email account. So lots of cool ways you can get in, but writing that up in a report might not necessarily be as easy as saying, oh yeah, I found remote code execution on your website. Like doing a whole attack chain for like a pen test engagement. I've read a lot of other guys' reports, and I never really ever see anything like that. It's usually like, oh, you had a form that let me upload any file I wanted, and then it was just put in that file. I could then just map to that folder because I looked up where it was in that program, you know, that web server. And like now I can upload an ASP file, and then I can just do an ASP web shell interpreter, reverse shell. From there, it's like, oh, privilege escalation, boom. But I rarely see like these really cool attack chains in reports. Like, I guess they don't want to give away their secrets, you know?
Yeah, it's more red teamy and less pen testy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I think red teaming might actually be easier than pen testing, because red teaming, you can just do anything the bad guy would do. Pen testing, you have to follow a very strict set of rules that are in that engagement. You can't fish most of the time. You can't do this. You can't do that. You know, you can only go after these assets, but they might have a whole bunch of shit that's vulnerable, and you're not allowed to go after that. It's like red teamers do whatever the fuck they want.
And it's in a narrow time scale, so you've got like normally a very short amount of time for a pen test. And you have to try and find as many vulnerabilities as exist, whereas in a red team engagement, you're not trying to find everything. You're just like, I need to find the quickest, easiest way to get the crown jewels or whatever I'm targeting. Yeah, it's a very different mindset and a very different, I guess, benefit for the client, depending on what they're trying to do.
Agreed. I think we're all right. Well, we've been at this an hour and 15 minutes. All right.
Still awake. It's good.
Still good. Adrian, still alive? Oh, I miss you, Adrian. I want to stroke your long beard. Yeah, he's gone. All right. Next, we've got, think your backups will protect you from ransomware. What do you think the malware will attack first? So if your backup strategy means you're protected from the worst that cyber criminal can throw at you, we got some bad news. The ransomware creators actually know about backups. It's true. They've heard of them before. So if you're unlucky enough to get a pay up or else notice, there's also a very good chance the attacker in question is already stealthily working their way through your systems for some time, ensuring that your recovery data has already also been completely trashed. Offsite backups, dude. 3-2-1 rule, which means that speedy recovery is off the table, and that you, your organization, and possibly your customers, suppliers, and partners are all totally at the mercy of these miscreants. I like that word, miscreants. You guys say that word in Britain?
Yeah, definitely.
Adopting a defense in-depth approach is part of the solution, and everyone should be doing that. But what you could do is ensure your backups are beyond the reach of the attackers, ensuring your organization is able to bounce back. So this is now pushing a webcast where they're probably going to be trying to sell something called "Don't Pay the Bad Guys." And they go on. Look, that's the whole gist of the article that actually makes any sense that any of us care about is bad guys are going to go after your backups. Then they're going to try and sell you something that probably, segments backups somehow. Malvertisers exploited a WebKit 0 day to redirect users to scam sites. This is a group, they call them Scam Club, exploited a 0 day in WebKit-based browsers. And in case you don't know, WebKit-based browsers. Which ones are WebKit-based browsers? I think that's all of them, right?
All of them, yeah. Chrome, Brave.
WebKit developed by Apple. It's used in everything.
Yeah.
It's even on the Kindle e-readers. Yeah. Gecko, Mosaic.
I mean, it'd be like if you could find one that wasn't, then that would be an achievement, I guess, because they're used everywhere. Even mobile apps use WebKit browsers.
Oh, you got IE, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, Aroma, Midori. Ooh, Midori. I remember that from Raspberry Pi. OmniWeb, Shira, Epiphany, iCab, Conqueror, NetSurf, Novell, and Opera, and pretty much all the things that are obviously made from Chrome and made from Firefox are going to also be. Anyway, moving forward. I
mean, what a crappy. Like, you've got this WebKit 0 day, and you use it to redirect users to scam sites. Like, what a waste. Why would you burn that? It seems like all the other cool stuff you could do. Yeah.
It's kind of like the Twitter kid who just decided to do the Bitcoin scam. It's like, I got access to Elon Musk's webpage. Let me do a Twitter. Let me try and make some crypto off of this. That was the stupidest thing he could have done. He could have literally bought a bunch of a stock and then just tweeted from Elon's account and been like, buy this stock. It would have skyrocketed. He could have dumped it and then walked away. So many. It could even be like crypto. Like, find some crypto that's really hard to trace and be like, have Elon say, buy this crypto. And then the value of it just skyrockets. So I'm convinced somebody's got Elon locked in a closet right now and they're just putting out these Dogecoin things from his name.
So not the hackers are stupid. I guess that's what I've learned, that they're just wasteful.
They are. It's really sad though, because people don't realize what they've got sometimes. It's like, I guess it's a good thing that they're both smart and stupid. It's like smart enough to figure out an amazing exploit that gets you access to some system that people would do anything for, and then you use it to do something so stupid. It's like, imagine you were able to pop any AWS box you wanted, right? And then you just use that to launch a DDoS attack rather than do any of the shit you could do controlling all of AWS. It's like, that's the kind of level of stupid these people do.
Agreed.
Yep.
Something else asked about Mimikatz.
Oh yeah, I found that one and put that in there before.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, LSAS, right? It is, I'm forgetting what the fudge it stands for now, but it's important. Essentially, it holds your passwords in Windows. Long story short, if you're running Mimikatz, you want to dump LSAS, you get this dump file. You can open it up. You can see all the username hashed password combos. But if you try and dump LSAS with Mimikatz, you're likely going to trip any AV that's on that system and alert anybody who's got OS query, right? So you can dump it right from Task Manager if you've got access to the GUI. This will not work if you have Kaspersky installed. It will literally just not create the dump file. But other Windows Defender don't give a shit. It'll let you do it. Pretty much you get then, from Mimikatz, you go, boom, grab it. All right. Proc dump. Proc dump is another way you can do it. Proc dump is part of the sysinternal suite. Same guys who make PS exec and all those cool tools. Always remember this one. Otherwise, your tool will pop up the EULA acceptance window on the system you are remotely attached to, which will very much give you away. Let me do that. Yep. Accept EULA name. So essentially, what we're doing here is we are dumping a memory. We're doing a memory dump of the contents of the RAM where this file is. It's like we're getting a dump, and then we're analyzing that dump. But we're still going to use Mimikatz. We're just not using Mimikatz on the box where we are hacking. We are using that on another box somewhere, and then we're just using it to look at the contents of that file. And then we get our shit. Executing a native COM services DLL file found in Windows System 32 with Run DLL 32. You can do it that way and do a mini dump. I've never tried this way. Have you?
No, that's interesting though.
That looks interesting. You can also use process dump from Cisco Jabber. Really? Cisco Jabber comes with a utility called process dump that can be found in the Jabber folder, and you can then use that to dump the LSAS process memory into PowerShell like this. That's really cool. A lot of companies have that installed too. You wouldn't even have to put your own tool in the system. You just like, here you go.
I watched a talk maybe 3 or 4 years ago about Mimikatz, and by a security researcher called Holly Graceful. And Holly started off by went to the name escapes me. The site where you like upload AV and upload files to AV to test.
Mm-hmm.
And like started off with like Mimikatz.exe, and I think like 48 of the 50 virus total. So like 48 of the 50 caught. So like the two that didn't, I guess one of them was Clam AV probably, because that doesn't catch shit. And I don't know what the second one was. So then Holly just renamed it to like not Mimikatz.exe, and like two more dropped off. And then like went in to the exe and like
getting to the end of it, and
just changed. Yeah, just changed stuff. It like as you just change really basic shit. Like, I mean, this is like 4 or 5 years ago, so like, like the next gen AV type stuff, and Microsoft ATP wasn't as good as it's now. But you're just amazed at like doing these basic obfuscation techniques that just avoids a lot of typical AV. Yeah.
So yeah, with Mimikatz, my first experience with it when I was fooling around. Well, first experience was probably fooling around with Metasploit framework, and it was in there, But then, like, my first time I actually used it was in PowerShell Empire, where I had gotten domain admin, and then I was like, well, what am I going to do with this? And then I figured out that cool trick you could do where you pretend to be another domain controller and you do a DC sync.
Yeah.
Have the first one send you over the usernames and hashes of everybody, and then you just load that in your cracking rig and have it try and parallel crack all of them at once. And you find out like there are a lot of easy passwords that'll get you further. But you already got DA. I mean, it's game over. But at that point, it's like still want to know everybody's password. Look good in the report. It's cool shit though. I think the work they've done with Mimikatz is freaking amazing. There's another tool I think called Kiwi that does the same thing if memory serves. I haven't used it, but I know it exists. And also, like Responder, there's another tool that runs natively in PowerShell called something. Essentially, it's Responder in PowerShell, and I'm forgetting the name of it now. But that exists as well. So you don't have to, like, if you've got access to a box, you can literally just run a PowerShell script rather than trying to somehow get your Responder on there, pivoting through it, running Responder or whatever. Next, we've got Citibank doing something really, really stupid. All right. This is great. So Citibank cannot get back $500 million. That's $500 million that it accidentally wired. Judge rules. This is hilarious. After committing one of the biggest blunders in banking history, Citibank will not be allowed to recover the almost $500 million it accidentally wired to Revlon's lenders, Revlon being that makeup company. Citibank, which was acting as Revlon's loan agent, meant to send about $8 million in interest payments to the cosmetic company's lenders. Instead, Citibank accidentally wired 100 times that amount, including $175 million to a hedge fund. In all, they sent about $900 million to Revlon's lenders. Some lenders did return the money, but others did not. Citibank then filed a lawsuit in August seeking return of the funds, but it's still not gotten back about $500 million from 10 investment advisory firms. An exception to the rule. So this is in New York. New York has exceptions to this rule where essentially if you accidentally wire somebody money, they're supposed to give it back to you. It's called a discharge for value defense. If the beneficiary is entitled to the money or they didn't know it was accidentally wired, they can keep it. Revlon's lenders, being essentially the people who lent money to Revlon, said that they believed Citibank was wiring prepayments for a loan. After all, the money accidentally wired was the exact amount to the penny that Citibank owed them. However, the loan wasn't set to mature for quite some time. So in other words, they were trying to do it like a payment plan, but rather than send some of the money, they sent all of the money at once. And then they're like, hey, can we have our money back? Kind of dumb. Like, I know somebody lost their job over this. Somebody's going to have a real hard time finding another job. The court ruled the lenders were justified in believing the payment was intentional. Citibank itself did not even realize the magnitude of their mistake until a day later. To believe that Citibank, one of the most sophisticated financial institutions in the world, had made a mistake that had never happened before to the tune of almost $1 billion would be borderline irrational, the court said. They ruled that using internal charts between HPS employees as further proof of the creditors having no idea that the wiring was a mistake until after Citibank noticed. In the chart, which was dated a day after the mistaken wiring, HFS employees joked about the error. I really feel bad for the person who fat-fingered a $900 million erroneous payment. Not a great career move. Certainly looks like they'll be looking for new people for their ops group. How was work today, honey? It was okay, except I accidentally sent $900 million to the people who to have it. This one. Downside of work from home. Maybe the dog hit the keyboard. The lenders cannot take the money and run since an appeal is a possibility. A temporary restraining order is in effect. We strongly disagree with the decision and intend to appeal. We believe that we are entitled to the funds and we will continue to pursue a complete recovery of them. The pandemic has hurt makeup brands like Revlon, shares of which are trading 40% lower than a year ago. This is like if I owed Adrian $100 and I told him I'm going to give him 50 cents a month for the next bunch of years till he got it back. And then I just gave him all the money at once. And then I was like, wait, I didn't mean to give that to you. Can I have it back? Like, I think Adrian would be like, fuck you.
So it sounds like a lot of money until you realize that their net income last year was $11.3 billion and their total assets is $2 trillion. So again, I guess it's hard. You know, to us that sounds like a lot of money, but to these fucks, like, well, you know, it's probably a drop in the ocean, which is why they didn't even notice until the next goddamn day.
Exactly. I like that the people at the firm who got this money were like, they knew it was a fuck up, and they joked about it. And it's like it's not like giving it back, but it's like great. I don't think anybody's going to go to jail over this, but it was definitely a stupid thing. It wasn't intentional. I mean, nobody broke the law. It was just dumb.
You'd think they'd have more checks than, like, you know, what a single person be able to press that button and, you know, 500, you know, million. Well, I guess almost $1 billion just gets transferred.
Imagine if you had like access to one of those systems that could do those kind of transfers. the shit you could pull and like the time it would take them to figure out what's going on. It's like send money to all my favorite charities. Fuck all y'all. All right. Next, we got a hacker is claiming to have stolen files from a prominent law firm called Jones Day. We covered this story already in another section, so we're gonna just ignore it. And Microsoft forces Windows 10 updates on everybody that will remove Flash Player. I'm okay with this. Normally, I'm like, Microsoft, don't do something that I don't want you to do necessarily. Don't install random shit on my computer or uninstall things I have installed unless I ask you to. But, I mean, It's Flash, and that's kind of like them just removing cancer from a system, so I'm okay with it. Your opinion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of the same. It's just this thing needs to die. Like it should have died years ago. And I'm not again in favor of anyone removing, laissez-faire. But come on, like let's just get rid of this crap. Like no one needs this anymore. And if you are using it, then you shouldn't be using it. Looking at you, South African tax office.
I remember that.
I suppose it's for the best they remove it at this point. So I will miss it.
There was another thing with Vietnam where they required everybody to have like the software if you wanted to work with the government on any level that would just digitally sign your documents, and somebody got malware into that application and then it distributed to freaking everybody who worked with the government in Vietnam. Like, oh, that's awesome. All right. I think that's it for this cast. I got nothing left. You guys have anything you want to talk about?
That I can think of.
Yeah.
Nope, nothing. Nothing else comes to mind. I mean, we did miss there was a massive data breach, like 3.2 billion emails addresses.
That was not a new data breach. That was Comb. So
okay.
Comb is the combination of many breaches. So it's not like a new data breach. It's literally somebody who's essentially made a combo list. And they just released it. And it was a really good combo list. Don't get me wrong. But it's not new data. It's like every time somebody releases something like this, the media completely misunderstands what has been released and thinks it's something brand new. And they report on it completely wrong. So, yeah, Comb, you could go on raid forums, right? And you spend, I think, 2 credits or 4 credits, which is like $1 or $2. You can then download this Comb breach from, I think, a mega.co.uz link. And it's big. It's like 3.2 gig of data. And then you extract it, and it's like 3 times that much. But it is literally a bunch of other older leaks that the guy has like combined. He combined it in the user pass format and the user hash format. So for like the ones he didn't crack, just put them as hashes. So if you had like your own, say, Elasticsearch database, you could easily import all this data in there and make it searchable. But you don't need to do that because he put some scripts in there that are really clever in the way that they're able to search through a massive amount of data very quickly and let you know what email, like if you want to look for an email and all this data, you don't have to do like a control F through each file. It does like a grep type thing, but on Windows, so you can just, or Linux, you can just easily search through the data without having to reinvent the wheel,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's neat shit. If you want, I'll shoot you a link to that later. If you want.
Yeah, that'd be good. And I'll send you the end game stuff.
Awesome. Bless you.
Thank you.
So we are going to end this cast. Also, everybody, make sure you spread the word that we have a conference we're trying to get off the ground, and we need sponsors. So if you know anybody, email frank.treza at who'syourhackercon.com and let me know, and I will reach out to them. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Have a great night, guys.
Thank you. Take care.